Yo, what's going on? Mike from Mike Talk Sports. UFC on ABC 5 in Jacksonville, Florida is going down this weekend in one of the more intriguing pick'em 50-50 fights on this card to potentially make money on is Philip Rowe versus Neil Magny. So in honor of this fight being such a close fight on paper, I thought today I would break the fight down and give my prediction to who will win this fight. So looking at Philip Rowe first, he's 32 years old, he's 6'3" with an 80.5-inch reach, and he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights, and he currently is a slight underdog at plus 152 odds. Now, something you'll notice right away when I'm reading Neil Magny's stats is these guys basically have the same exact stature for the welterweight division. So Neil Magny is 3 years older at 35 years old. He's also 6'3", and he has an 80-inch reach, so practically the same exact reach as Philip Rowe. Now, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights, and he's currently minus 152. Something to somewhat note for the betting side of it, Neil Magny is a UFC vet, of course. He almost always wins fights when he's the favorite, and he almost always loses as an underdog. That's something I genuinely do not take into consideration whatsoever. It's just something to note on the betting side of things. Now, let's break down Neil Magny's tendencies first, then we're going to get into Philip Rowe because he's a bit of the more unknown in this fight, being that he's the younger fighter in there with less experience. Neil Magny is, of course, that cardio output type of guy over the power. He's not going to be throwing shots with the intent to knock you out. The first thing that Neil Magny does in his fights to start the fight is to establish distance, and really the purpose of establishing distance for Neil Magny is to get forward movement in order to work the clinch game and work the takedowns. So he's going to do that by his jab. He has a very nice jab. It's very snappy and it's very quick. And even though for the majority of a fight, Neil Magny will operate out of the orthodox stance, sometimes he will switch southpaw, but for the most part, he is an orthodox. He throws that jab in somewhat of an unorthodox manner, which is definitely somewhat unpredictable. That's a nice positive out of Neil Magny. And I'm not too sure if he trains karate, but sure as hell looks like he does. By the way he strikes, he's a very blitzing heavy striker in the sense of he'll either throw out one jab, one hook, one right straight, or he'll blitz in with a steady, fast combination of strikes similar to what a karate fighter will do. They will charge forward and throw 5 strikes in a 2-second time frame. That's something that Neil Magny consistently does in his fights. And again, this really is to create distance and to also create some respect on the feet. It's really difficult in the UFC at a high level at the welterweight division with so many power punchers in that division to create respect on the feet when you're not a powerful striker. So the way that Neil Magny substitutes the power is with those blitzing, quick, lightning fast strikes in order to back his opponent up against the cage. He definitely favors centerline striking, and that is apparent in his kicking game as he really does favor that front kick and that teep to the body over the side kick to the body, so he will teep to the body a lot in his fights. He offers somewhat of a threat in terms of the head kick, but that's not really something in Neil Magny's go-to in terms of finishing a fight. Again, that head kick will be thrown out there to kind of create respect in space on the feet. And from there, he loves the clinch. He's very good at winning the positional battle in the clinch. He's very good with his clinch transitions. From the clinch, he's going to look to get you down. And though he doesn't have incredible takedown entries, he is a good wrestler. And something that I do like out of Neil Magny, he's very sticky on the ground. Is he someone with this insane ability to finish a fight on the ground via submission? No, he's not, but he does have some submissions in his arsenal. But that's not what he looks for on the ground. He looks for good positions on the ground, and he has very nice underrated ground and pound from Neil Magny. He has very precise punches on the ground, and he has very sharp elbows on the ground. So he's very offensive oriented minded in his fights, not only on the feet, but on the ground and in the clinch as well. Now, looking at Philip Rowe, he's somewhat similar in the striking department to Neil Magny, except he's much more calculated. He'll throw less strikes, less output, but he throws a significant more amount of power into his strikes. He no doubt is a power puncher. He has never won a fight via decision in the UFC thus far. He has 3 really nice TKO victories in his last 3 fights, but that's one of my main problems with Philip Rowe. Watching his last 3 fights, he was arguably losing to Nico Price before finding the knockout. He was arguably losing a lot of exchanges with Jason Witt before finding that knockout. In the Orion fight as well, he was arguably losing. Mainly, it's the grappling exchanges. Philip Rowe is a guy who is a very hard worker. He's constantly in grappling tournaments. You can even look up a video of him grappling with Gordon Ryan. The thing is, he's just not that good of a grappler. He just does not have a natural feel for grappling. It certainly does not come natural for him. Now, again, he's working so hard at it. I just see Neil Magny repeatedly reversing position in the clinch on him, getting dominant position in the clinch, finding the takedown, and getting dominant position on the ground. Quite simply put, when it comes to the positional domination in the positional battle on the feet in terms of the grappling sequences on the feet and on the ground in terms of the grappling sequences on the ground, I do give a distinct advantage in that department to Neil Magny, but that doesn't mean Philip Rowe is absolutely useless in the clinch. Something that Philip Rowe is really good at is strikes in the clinch. He has devastating knees in the clinch. We've seen him finish a fight because of his clinch work. He has devastating elbows in the clinch, and whenever you get that close to Philip Rowe, he has an opportunity, and there is a window for Philip Rowe to knock Neil Magny out because of how powerful Philip Rowe is, something that he does really well when he gets really close in range with fighters, especially wrestlers, which Neil Magny is going to try to do in this fight, is he has devastating uppercuts, not only to the body, but to the chin as well. On the feet, Philip Rowe, for the most part, is going to operate out of orthodox. He has a solid jab. I would say Neil Magny's jab is better, and I think Neil Magny is better at managing distance, but Philip Rowe has those huge hooks, and something that Neil Magny likes doing is evading the hooks with his head movement, and that somewhat makes me nervous for Neil Magny in this matchup, as I honestly envision Philip Rowe at least once in this fight catching Neil Magny with a huge hook to the head while Neil Magny is trying to evade other shots. My official prediction for this fight is Neil Magny 29-28 on the scorecards. I think he picks up 2 rounds. I think he out-grapples Philip Rowe for all 3 rounds. I think in at least one of the rounds, though, Philip Rowe is going to win via damage. He's going to have the more damaging shots on Neil Magny in at least one round. I really would not be shocked to see Philip Rowe win this fight either via knockout or either via 2-1 on the scorecard. Considering Philip Rowe most likely will win the damage battle, it really is about Neil Magny dominating with control time in the clinch, peppering the more shots on there, and just overwhelming Philip Rowe in terms of the volume to the point where it is undeniable to give Neil Magny the victory, considering the amount of output and the amount of output he had over Philip Rowe. So again, my official prediction, Neil Magny via decision, but I really would not be surprised to see Philip Rowe get the win. This is going to be a really close one, but Neil Magny gets the slight edge because of the grappling advantage. Thanks for listening, guys. Let me know in the comment section below, who do you have winning this fight?